The word alone sends shivers down the spine. Then visions form of the desperately poor in Victorian workhouses, lining up for a bowl of slop. But we're not going there today. No, we're going to be creating medieval Grewel enforced, enriched gruel, Posh Gruel. Gruel is surprisingly common in medieval English recipe collections. 2 recipes even appear in King Richard II's cookery book, Form of Curry. This doesn't necessarily mean Richard deigned to eat what is essentially peasant fare, a kind of porridge made from water and oatmeal or other grains or pulses. But then again, Richard's recipes use costly saffron, and the gruel is thickened by meat in one recipe and expensive imported almonds in the other. So, though we don't see gruel on elite feast menus, it was nevertheless eaten in the great medieval households of English nobles and royalty, possibly served, in its enriched form, to invalids to give them easily digestible nourishment. In this video, I'm going to be giving medieval gruel a modern twist, elevating it so that you could even serve it to the poshest of your friends. The foundation for an enriched gruel is an excellent broth. In the mid-15th century medieval recipe that I'm using as the basis for my dish, not only is beef used for the broth, quite typical in great households, but marrow bones are added. Take a marrow bones and fresh beef. Make good gruel thereof, giving extra richness and nourishment. So I've done the same, making an ultra-slow cooked marrowbone and beef broth. Premium content subscribers can see exactly how I did this in a bonus video made available on my website. To make the gruel, oatmeal is added to some of the marrowbone broth. Here I'm making enough for 2. This is cooked until the oats are soft. Oats are not actually mentioned in the medieval recipe I'm using. The cook is simply told to make the gruel. However, there are plenty of medieval recipes that do point out what must have been obvious to an experienced medieval cook, that gruel requires a grain, and oatmeal was the standard choice. During the cooking, I crumble in a generous pinch of saffron. This will give a golden hue by the time the dish is finished, and give it that unique, savoury, floral saffron flavour. Saffron appears in all the medieval gruel recipes I've seen so far, underscoring the fact that these recipes were for wealthy households. To give more complexity to the spicing, I've chosen to add 3 further spices used in medieval cookery: ground long pepper, ground cinnamon buds, and a grating of nutmeg. I also add salt. In the medieval recipe, the gruel is drawn through a strainer or sieve, probably made from horsehair. Make a good gruel thereof, and draw them through a strainer. This is done to make it smooth, no lumpy stuff in an elite household. As you see, I'm using my stick blender to create the same result. Next, the crucial element of enriched gruel. It needs to be thickened with meat. The medieval recipe says this should be tenderly cooked pork. Take a fair pork, tender soden. I decided for my posh gruel to engage with the principle of nose-to-tail eating. Waste not, want not, as my grandma would have said. So I've slow cooked some lovely pig's cheeks. In Britain, pig's cheeks usually end up being ground up for minced pork, which frankly is verging on the criminal. In places like Spain and Portugal, they're recognised as a real delicacy, which is exactly what they are. I braise my pig's cheeks along with onions, carrots and garlic in the oven on a low heat using some of my marrowbone broth. And to take it to the next level, Pedro Ximenes sherry. Luxurious. Now, the Spanish Pedro Ximenes grape is only documented as far back as the early part of the 17th century, so it's not medieval. However, the English were importing sweet wines, including from Spain, as early as the 13th century. These wines were made from sun-dried, late-harvested grapes, as is my Pedro Ximenes. It's the dark raisin sweetness that really goes so well with pig's cheeks. If you'd like the detailed recipe for my sherry braised pig's cheeks, head on over to my Buy Me a Coffee page, the link for which is provided in the video description below. Premium content subscribers can obtain their copy on the blog page of my website. Back to the gruel. I need 2 of the pig's cheeks to enrich the gruel. So I break them up, whisk them in my mini food processor and add this back to the gruel. After a final whiz with my stick blender, this gets served with the remaining braised pig's cheeks, with plenty of that luscious Pedro Ximenes sauce on top. So here we are with my Posh Gruel and sherry braised pig's cheeks. Let's see what it tastes like. Those pig's cheeks are absolutely spot on. They're so tender, and you just get a lovely sweetness from the Pedro Ximenes sauce. What about the gruel itself? It's smooth. I like the saffron in it. It kind of really peps it up. And there's just a background hint of those cinnamon buds that I ground up, and a little bit of pepper heat, not very much, and the seasoning is really well balanced. Great stuff. I'm going to enjoy eating the rest of this. See you next time.